Hello everyone, and thanks very much for all the support with my videos. I'm very grateful, and thanks to everybody who keeps supporting my campaign to get elected as an independent for Dublin Bay South in the upcoming general election. So vote number 1 Peter Dooley in the Dublin Bay South constituency on November 29th. Tonight I'm at government buildings here, as you can see, in Dublin City Centre. Now, there's been a lot of debate around these political parties over the last number of weeks with the general election campaign heating up. And now it's time to expose really this political party system ultimately for what it is, because the political party system would uphold the status quo and doesn't challenge where power really lies in Irish society. We've seen over the last number of weeks the so-called differences in these parties being next to nothing. It's become a huge auction politics, as they're all wondering how to spend the Apple billions that so many of these political parties argued and campaigned and spent money to take legal challenges not to take that Apple money, which could cause huge improvements to people's lives if they use that money effectively. But of course, they're more interested in bowing down to their masters and the billionaire tech finance companies as well, who make huge profits, while ordinary people are the ones that carry the can through devastating austerity, all pursued by the neoliberal agenda in the European Union. And as I've stated, we've seen many of these parties try to pretend over the last few weeks that they're actually different when they're not, as I explained in my previous video. And we've seen that in particular over the recent number of weeks, as I said, regarding childcare costs, for instance. Sinn Féin first came out and said it was €200 per month. Fine Gael and Fianna Fáil have matched that and tried to beat it, making a mockery about the whole system. GP care, first of all, it was 4 years of age, 6, 8, 10, 12, now it's gone up to 18. And university fees are going to be scrapped according to the political party system. But of course, the government could have done something about that in the finance bill, but they didn't do it. So people are falling for the same old complete nonsense. Student accommodation they spoke about as well, and housing, which is a big issue in Irish society, housing and homelessness. But again, the same old failed policies. Is it going to be 20,000 a year? Is it going to be 30,000 a year? Is it going to be 40,000 a year? Well, fundamentally has to change, is a dramatic shift in terms of housing policy in Ireland. And also the migration crisis. They're all fully behind the EU Migration Pact, and they're not interested in protecting Irish borders and in terms of proper Irish sovereignty and control of the policy of the state, which is part of the Constitution. But of course, nobody wants to talk about this. They all want to talk about getting their positions under the table so they can cosy up to their masters in Brussels, where power really lies, where 70% of our legislation comes through huge lobbyists up around the corner on Mount Street. They're the offices of the European Commission offices, and so much of the power comes fundamentally from that position of big corporate interests who the European Union work for at the expense of ordinary people who suffer because of these policies. And Ireland is a net contributor to the European Union. So it's going to be more of the same political establishment grandstanding over the next period of time, rather than dealing with the real issues around where power lies in society and who fundamentally should hold the power. Constitutionally, it is important to note that all the policies should derive from the people of the state. But of course, this has been contravened day after day after day by the Irish political establishment. But of course, they won't tell you about that. They're more interested in bowing down to their masters in Brussels and pursuing the neoliberal agenda, pursuing the fiscal space and fiscal rules and the control of our fiscal and monetary policies, and of course the single currency as well, which has caused huge issues across the European Union, not to mention the migration industry and who profits from it and who's making money from it, and why the Irish political establishment are fully signed up to this globalist agenda around that was orchestrated and organised in the first instance by people like Peter Sutherland, privately educated, not too far away from here, who was chairperson of Goldman Sachs and also was the Attorney General at one point as well. This is what the Irish political establishment represent. They're going to have a leaders' debate on the state propagandists tonight, RTE, and it's going to be completely contrived to say that you have some choice. The choice is completely illusion, because what really happens is the veil of this facade, a bright and glitzy facade, has to be pulled down. And fundamentally what we need is a society that serves the needs of its citizens. And fundamentally power has to come back to our communities to have local democracy. Local and community sovereignty is critical in building a republic for the people. and by the people, not a republic that's going to be sold out by these self-serving political leaders who only look after the super rich and wealthy and big corporations. So on November 29th, vote for real change in Dublin Bay South. Vote for Peter Dooley as an independent who's genuine, committed, honest, and speak the truth on the matters that really matter in our society. Of course, they won't speak about this on RTE and all the other propaganda channels you're hearing, to have this sort of Tweedledum and Tweedledee politics backwards and forwards. We'll give you 200, we'll give you 300, rather than dealing with the underlying societal and economic issues that are devastating our society and forcing more and more people into homelessness, health disaster, and into the hands of private profiteers who will constantly profit at our expense. And unless we get the radical change that is much needed in our society to put the needs of the people first, as foresaw by many revolutionaries over the years who have stood up for our independence, stood up for our neutrality, stood up for our sovereignty as well. And notwithstanding, the same political establishment are dragging us off towards more war at the behest of the European Union, with the announcement yesterday that the US have authorised the use of long-range missiles into Russia for Ukraine. So who's been speaking the truth over that for the last number of years? I have, and again, but where's the Irish political establishment? All completely behind this. So thanks a lot for the support, really appreciate it. And please press subscribe to my YouTube channel. On November 29th, Peter Dooley, #1. And Dooley for it all. Take care. Bye bye.